And this is, I think this technically is like week 5. We're looking at the 4th law, make it satisfying. It's chapters 15, 16, and 17. Right off the top, any big takeaways for you?
Yes, there was. It's kind of toward the end of the reading. And it was about whenever you miss, like don't miss twice. And you've met me, Eric. You know that I have missed more than twice. So I had to do some thought work around that, like never miss twice. And decide that in order for me to be able to move forward, when I miss for days and days and days in a row, the day that I decide, okay, I'm pulling myself out of this slump, I count that whole 11-day slide as one, and I'm not going to miss twice. Like when I decide to recover, I don't judge myself for the whole however many days it was that I was not performing the habit that I was working on. I just see that as one slide, and I'm not going to do it again. I'm not doing it the second time. That has been a really good, I like that has changed my whole habit game, deciding that. Did you lose me?
For a split second there.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's a slide, but you're calling the whole slide as one.
Yes.
Not one day.
Right.
Okay.
Because it would be really easy to go, oh my gosh, I've missed 11 days. And gosh, Mr. James Clear said that if I do it twice, then I've made a new habit. No, I'm not falling down that rabbit hole. For me to move on, I see the slide as one thing.
Okay.
And then I roll on.
And then you restart.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, you know, the habit contract, the whole thing in chapter 17 there, can be a really difficult thing to do. There's a lot of people that aren't motivated in that manner of negative consequences. And a lot of what we're talking here with the 4th law of make it satisfying, and the inverse of that of make it immediately unsatisfying.
Right.
You know, a lot of times some people are totally motivated by that. They don't want to have to give up $100 to their trainer or something like that. But I know if I had made with our son, he would just suffer. If it was a punishment-based consequence,
mm-hmm.
Fine, bring it on, Dad. I'll suffer through it.
Right.
It not work.
I have a hard time with the punishment-based kind of habit creation, because for me, like $100, okay, it would hurt, but when I don't feel like doing something, it's easy for me to just roll my eyes and say, like, it's not $100 right now. I think for me, the negative consequence thing really is more like I'm never gonna make a contract with myself and stick to it. But what I found that is really powerful for me is to have an accountability partner or a group. I have one accountability partner that is my daily. We trade our food plans every day. We trade our assessments every day. And I honestly don't want to have to say, like, I ate Fritos last night, because I tell her the truth. And then I have a larger group that I have accountability with for other stuff. And it comes down to the same thing. It's like a habit contract, but it's with another person. And then really the negative consequence is you don't want to have to admit that you did the thing you're trying to not do. It's still you bringing that negative consequence to yourself, but just the idea that somebody else is watching makes that whole habit contract easier to mentally deal with than just me. Like, I'm not going to exercise for just me sometimes, but I'm going to show up and exercise when I'm exercising with you, because it's a habit contract.
Yeah, I worked for a studio for a while that took that to the nth degree, too far. That every week you had to have goals in 4 different areas. Every 12 weeks there had to be a new overarching goal, each subsequent 12 weeks had to be something, an expansion of that. And so over time, every Sunday night you had to do an assessment, or by Sunday night, you had to do an assessment. We would have Monday morning meetings. Everyone had to review theirs with the group. You were expected to carry accountability cards, 3x5 note cards that had all goals in all 4 categories written on it. You were expected to have those at all times with you, which I don't know how many times they went through the wash. But they were, and if the owner of the company didn't think they were big enough, they weren't good enough. And you would have to, that's not enough. You need to do something more. You need to do something more. And it's like, no, I don't feel like I need to be working simultaneously in 4 different areas of my life.
Right.
And trying to juggle all of those all the time. And it became less of a point of, okay, I'm going to kind of just think of something that I don't really care about that just gets him to shut up.
I'm trying to find the exact quote, but that's kind of like when it's about when you use a target as a goal.
Yes, I highlighted that.
Effect. That was really powerful to me, just that whole thought, because it's true. Goodhart's law: when a measure becomes a target, it ceases being a good measure. It's kind of like when they have the tests for kids in school, and the teachers teach to the test. You're no longer evaluating whether the kids are getting a good education or not. You're evaluating if they're good at taking that test.
Yeah.
And in weight loss, the scale is supreme, right? Only really, if that's the only thing that you're measuring. I mean, weight loss really is about like health. So if you're only measuring your weight, you're missing out on the non-scale victories. Even if my weight doesn't drop, maybe my pants fit differently. To be holistic about why you have a goal, like your why.
Right. Yeah, the whole thing. So if we kind of work back, actually, we're kind of working backwards this time in the chapters there, but that's okay. We can totally do that because we're in charge.
Right.
One of the notes that I made here was the cost of laziness, of not doing, must be greater than the cost of the activity or the exercise. The pain of remaining the same must be greater than the pain of change. That's my rephrasing.
Right.
And so that's kind of the inversion of the, make it satisfying, but make the bad habit or the negative action immediately unsatisfying.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from like being purposefully aware. Like I journal about why I have the goals that I have to change a particular, like, that most of my stuff is around eating and weight and health because of that. And when I journal about it and make myself aware of it, and I write about it every day, that awareness brings the consequence closer to the act, because previous times in my life, I could just push it away and not think about it. But now it's always right front and center, because I'm always thinking about like how I want to better myself, how I want to stay this weight, and bringing that the awareness brings the consequence closer to the act for me.
So can you think of any kind of food-centric, immediate, unsatisfying consequences? What are some things that could be done to make some of that immediately unsatisfying?
Tape your habit tracker to the snack cabinet. I have a habit tracker that is specifically for, I followed my plan today. And it's not the one that I keep in my journal. It's just a piece of paper that's tacked up there, so that when I go to the cabinet, even before I open the cabinet, I have to look at, I'm going to have to put an X on that. And as silly as it sounds, it's enough. Like sometimes all you need is a pattern interrupt, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's that second for me to go, hang on. Do I want to have to tell my accountability partner I ate Fritos again? Do I want to be bloated when I get up in the morning? And do I want to have heartburn? And sometimes the answer is absolutely yes, I'm in, bring me the Fritos. But there are times, and enough times to make it worth it, that the piece of paper makes me go, just go to bed. It works.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, I didn't exactly set it up. I'm not quite sure how it happened, but on our joint credit card, when I make an expenditure, Carol gets a text message. And I don't usually carry cash, so I can't hide things. And usually within about 5 or 10 minutes, if I've gone to the donut shop, and I've not gone there since like March, I'll get a forwarded text message. Was it good?
That's so funny.
And I don't know how to turn it off. And at this point, I'm not going to try, because
Right.
that's exactly what needs to be there. That unsatisfying of somebody else knows that I just went and did that. You know, and the habit of swinging through a Starbucks or a coffee shop or something, setting up the rule of, okay, if I want something there, or a fast food place or whatever, fine, but I have to pull into the parking lot and I have to consume it in its entirety before I can leave the parking lot. And usually the argument is, I'm in a hurry, I need to grab something quick, I'm just going to fly through and grab something. No. The act of having to sit down and consume the whole thing interrupts my schedule.
Right.
Do I want to be late now or later because I chose that I had to have that?
It's interesting that you're saying that, because I've been doing a lot of thinking about time being currency, like how I spend my time. And no, I probably wouldn't want to spend the time to sit there and eat my McChicken. It wouldn't be worth it. Whereas it might be worth it for me to eat the calories and the crap. It wouldn't be worth the time for me to sit there.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned, we're going to kind of jump back to chapter 16, which is how to stick with good habits every day. And you mentioned you've got a habit tracker. The chapter makes habit tracking have 3 points. 1, habit tracking is obvious. 2, habit tracking is attractive. And 3, habit tracking is satisfying. How do you feel that those work together for you?
Well, I do have a habit tracker that I track like 9 things that I'm working on, mostly are, like sleep, water, making a plan every day and assessing my plan every day, and a couple other things. And it's obvious to me because I plan digitally and I move my habit tracker to that day every day. Like I have to look at it when I open up my planner. So it's obvious. I do it with green and red dots on the calendar, and seeing a sea of green when I pop up my habit tracker, that's a really good feeling. Like I've come a long way. It used my habit tracker used to look bloody, and now it just looks like a field of green. And that is attractive. And it's also really satisfying to me to be able to go back through all of my habit trackers and see the shift as I have progressed forward.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I've got the app that I use for my training is on my phone, and so I get a notification every day of, hey, there's a new workout for today. Here's your workout for the day. So I get that reminder, and this is one of those cases where sometimes your habits are invisible, that if you don't do something,
right.
And it's not until I go log in and I know in the back of my mind I've not done something for a couple of days, and I see that sea of red.
Right.
Because I've not done those, and it's okay. Well, now I'm going to work out 3 times today because I can't leave those red X's there. I have to go back, do them all, so I can now then, in the measurement. And even though, that's almost making the measurement the goal.
Right.
But knowing that, no, I can't leave that undone. I've got to do something. I got to do something. I got to do something, and get caught up.
Right. Along with that is like about not making the measurement the goal is the idea. I'm going to quote directly from the book because he's so much more eloquent than I am. Furthermore, habit tracking provides visual proof that you are casting votes for the type of person you wish to become, which is a delightful form of immediate and intrinsic gratification. And it goes back to what he talked about in the beginning of the book, like you can change the outcome, which is what you get, like the goal. You can change the process, which is about what you do, or you can change your identity, which is about like who you are and what you believe. So the more you are successful in your habit tracker, the more you get to know that you are becoming the person that you want to identify as.
Very cool. Very cool.
Which I think is really powerful.
Yes, exactly. So we've moved away from a specific goal to a process to an identity.
Right. So I now identify as I am a thin person. Like I don't eat like a thin person. I am a thin person. And I am someone who exercises regularly. And like that really has become what I believe about myself because of this, or some form of this for a while now.
And all we have to do is maintain those behaviors that are consistent with that identity.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when should you not track a habit?
When it doesn't serve you. I know that there are people that don't track weight because they have such scale issues. I haven't come up against a habit that I have found isn't valuable for me to track yet, but in other people, I see that other people that I talk to, you know, through my accountability groups, that sometimes it's not exactly helpful to track a habit. So to find another way, like, you know, obviously I talk to a lot of weight loss people, and the ladies that I know that, you know, have scale drama, it doesn't have to be about the scale. It can be, you know, your measuring tape, or a particular pair of pants, or, you know, some other way to determine whether you are being successful with your eating plan.
Very good. And I also thought about when you do, like if you give yourself, and I intentionally use the phrase, an intentional refeed day,
Mm-hmm.
that if you've been dieting very severely, and there are research supporting a refeed, it's not a feeding frenzy, but an intentional increase in calories. And on those days, even though it's planned, not worrying about it and not writing everything down because you've already done everything else.
Right.
And then after, then you don't have, there is no guilt surrounding that meal or whatever it is. It's planned, so you don't have to look at it. You know, there's a handful of situations like that, you know, or if it makes them more obsessive compulsive about that behavior.
Right. I think it becomes useless to track a habit when you feel like you're gaming the system to do it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we jump back to chapter 15, you know, the cardinal rule of behavior change: what is rewarded is repeated, what is punished is avoided. And he was very clear in making it satisfying with an immediate satisfaction.
Yeah. So that goes back to what I was saying before about awareness. The immediate part. If you're making yourself aware of your thoughts around an issue, I think, again, I said it earlier, like awareness brings the immediacy. If you're thinking all the time, you know, or on a regular basis about like wanting to improve your diet or to do more exercise, and the reasons that you want to do it, and your thoughts around why you are or you're not, it brings that immediate reward of, oh, look, I did what I said I was going to do, or that immediate feeling of I'm not in integrity with myself because I'm right now with this donut in my hand. Oh, I'm doing the thing that I said that I wouldn't do because I've spent so much time writing and being intentional about what my thoughts are around that.
He also kind of talks about immediate return versus delayed return. And a good observation of the cost of good habits are in the present. It hurts at the moment.
Right.
The cost of bad habits are in the future. It's going to hurt us down the road.
So,
Kind of reminded me of Top Gun. Your mouth is writing checks your body can't cash.
this particular quote, I think about this all the time when I'm working out with you and you're making me do mountain climbers. I hate those, but I know that I'm going to feel good when I'm done. I know that. So that.
You know, and it's fine if a string of bad words accompany the workout, sometimes that makes it more enjoyable.
For me, it definitely does. I know yesterday I said I hate you a lot of times. A lot of times.
That's okay. That happens frequently. So one of the things that was in here as well is you want the ending of your habit to be satisfying.
Yes.
How can you feel immediately successful?
So I'll take that back to exercise. When I'm done working out, either with you or, you know, my other workout, I have a girlfriend that I work out with. I always make sure and tell myself, like, I'm not going to curl. I tell myself that I'm amazing. I showed up. Like, well, you've heard me say I'm putting a marble in my mental consistency bucket. In my mind, I don't bother with the actual marble. But in my mind, I see myself putting a marble in my bucket of consistency.
That's excellent. So
I think we're having connection issues.
A little bit there. Yeah, it's coming back. So are there any habits you're trying to implement that you find unsatisfying? Or in other words, what are habits you're trying to implement that you're doing poorly?
Going to bed earlier at night. I'm reading a book. One of the things he said is like nothing good happens after 9 o'clock at night. And he's absolutely right. And if I could have those 2 hours between 9 and 11 at the beginning of my day, they would be so much more effective.
Yeah.
But I'm having to put more effort into that than I would like. I wish that it would come easier, but it's not.
Yes, I'm afraid that's a very bad habit that's been successfully formed in this household.
Yes.
Yes, we're working on it. So this is good stuff, making it satisfying and understanding when things are unsatisfying, immediate return, making your habits obvious and attractive and satisfying, and making the bad habits unsatisfying. It's good putting everything else that we're learning into action.
Yeah. And I mean, I will say this about like, okay, I'm trying to go to bed earlier. And what I said about awareness, I'm writing about that a lot. Like what I'm making myself aware to bring unsatisfying to that habit. I'm like, I will tell you now that when I'm up at 11 o'clock, I'm really thinking about the time that I'm stealing from myself just because of that awareness. So I'm bringing the dissatisfaction to the habit.
Any more thoughts about the fourth law here?
I don't think so. I think we covered the stuff that, well, I'll show you my book. I have some.
Oh my.
It's seriously marked.
Yes.
But I think we covered the important stuff.
I don't feel so bad for highlighting like every, fourth paragraph. Yes.
It looks like a rainbow.
It's so pretty.
I know.
Well, cool. Let me hit stop recording. Good conversation.
Yes.